I have way too much stuff. But howdy y'all, I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you guys are safe and I hope you guys are healthy. My name is Josh and I absolutely love clothing, personal style, things of that nature. So if you're into that type of content, feel free to subscribe to me here on YouTube as well as follow me on Instagram at where's_galdo. Looking at the viewfinder really quick, it's a little like blank on this end of things. So let me just at least put a jacket or something on this mannequin. Today's video is going to primarily be about, well, actually scratch that. It's kind of a pretty impromptu video. I didn't really plan this out, but what kind of brought this idea about was that from time to time I love to just kind of go through my camera roll, go through past memories, talk about it with my friends and stuff, and be like, oh, this is what we were doing, where we were at, like whether it's a vacation or like a concert or something like that. I love reliving old memories with friends, so I figured why don't I do that and look at my wardrobe and kind of basically take things out of my wardrobe and show you guys that represent certain things to me. And what I figured would be interesting is showing you guys pieces in my wardrobe that have sentimental value to me, that are, in my opinion, significant in the development of my own style. One of the primary reasons why I'm able to do so is because I have a collector's mentality, so I just keep a lot of the things that I buy over the years. I mean, some other people have a different approach. Like, some people have a catch and go release style or relationship with their wardrobe where they'll buy pieces that they really like, use them, and then sell them once they're done with it so that they can get some of their money back, if not all, ideally more money back. And that's a perfectly good way to just appreciate and utilize wardrobe space. However, I get attached to things all the time. So I'm like, you know what? I wore this at this concert or on this vacation. I don't really want to let it go. So I do have a collector's mentality, which can be a detriment. I have way too much stuff, way more stuff than anyone would ever need. But it allows me to do a video like this where I show you guys pieces that represent development in my style. So let's get right to it. I'm gonna go ahead and narrow it down to just footwear today. If you guys like this type of video, maybe I'll do another one, maybe for pants, jackets, or whatever, but let's get right into it. All right, first up is going to be, I guess, what I consider my representation of like the beginning of me being interested in dressing myself, and that's gonna be these shoes right here. This is the Nike Flyknit trainer, multicolor Flyknit trainer, I should say, and this was at a point, these came out, I think, in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. 2013, 2012, something like that. Feel free to correct me in the comments down below. But this shoe represented a lot for me because back in the day, I think this came out when I was in high school or something like that. And so that was like when I was into sneakers and stuff, loved Jordans, loved basketball sneakers primarily. And this one was the beginning of my love for runners, as well as just the start of me caring about my clothing. And this, I haven't had for very long, to be quite honest with you. I thrifted these, which makes it even better. I was able to buy a Grail from my teenage years for, I think, something like $13, something like that. And I am so in love with this shoe still. It doesn't really fit into my wardrobe now, but it definitely is a really good just snapshot in time for what I really liked and valued in clothing at the time. And this was like high performing, really interesting in regard to color, stands out a lot in any wardrobe. It was not like, you'd think that a color like this would be kind of hard to match in an outfit, but honestly, if you just go ahead and let the upper speak for itself, let the color speak for itself. And I, like nowadays, sometimes will wear like an all black outfit and then just throw these on as a comfortable shoe, and it feels great, looks great, and is kind of like a representation of my teenage mentality when it came to clothing. And I think that's awesome. Yo, hold up, I actually found a gem. So this is just a shoebox that I keep my extra laces and stuff in, but look at the tag. This was from Karma Loop. That is crazy. I remember like back in the day buying clothes from Karma Loop, Plunder, MLTD. So if you guys were into clothing at around that time, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That is peak streetwear right there. All right, so next up is going to be, I guess the next step in my evolution of like appreciating clothing, and I'm very much a product of early like streetwear YouTube. So Jacob Keller, Avery Ginsberg, Jacob, who was Jacob, or however his Jacob Wallace. So yeah, I watched a lot of those people, and their opinions and their style progressions really influenced mine. And so I guess from that sneaker phase, then I got into trying to dress a little bit nicer. So I was like, oh cool, common projects and stuff like that. And I think these shoes encompass that very, very well. These are a pair of Stan Smiths, but they're not the regular Stan Smith you're used to seeing. This is the Stan Smith Mid. And I literally only bought this because I think, if I vaguely remember, Jacob Keller had a video where he bought a mid-top Stan Smith, and I was like, oh, it's not like a regular Stan Smith, but it's still like as cool as one. Ooh, I really want to do that. So I think at the time, if I remember correctly, I justified it to myself by saying this is like the Adidas version of a Jordan 1 high, which is completely wrong and kind of hilarious to think about, but I am not afraid of like embarrassing myself on the internet. But yeah, the Stan Smith mid-top. At one point I did have a pair of like common projects, which I think are at my parents' house or something like that, but really thinking about how it went from sneakers to white, like more regular contemporary looking sneakers into common projects, and then further on morphing into like boots and stuff. Next up is going to be these right here. I am certain you guys know of these, have seen these before. These kind of made waves back in the day. This was my first kind of introduction into learning more about avant-garde style, and I really love these. I also haven't had these for very long, maybe a couple of months now, but I bought them because they were like a grail at when I was younger. I got these for a wonderful, wonderful price. I think like less than $200 for sure. And so these, at the time when I first like were exposed to them, I thought there was no way in hell that I could wear these. They were way too weird. The soles are completely detached from each other. I was like, nah, this is too crazy for me. But it really did open my eyes up to a more unconventional way of dressing. And maybe I'm assigning too much meaning to a shoe that came out in 2014, which was a Rick Owens Adidas collab. But it had represented a pretty big time for my development in style. So these are the Rick Owens Adidas runners. So if we're following kind of the lineup right now, it started from sneakers and streetwear, moved into kind of more contemporary streetwear, which was like common projects, Stan Smiths, and then wearing other streetwear related items with that. Then after that, my style branched off into three pretty distinct directions. So one, that would be like kind of the more obscure avant-garde route. Then it was also the traditional kind of Japanese Americana route. And then it was like inspired by music. I'll go with the third first. Inspired by music, I did experiment with different styles based on rock music. I grew up on rock music, loved but like nu metal, hardcore, punk, a lot of different genres in there. And one style that was popping off at that time, and I'm thinking like this is like maybe 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. The Saint Laurent harnessed wyatt boot really just kind of skyrocketed in popularity, thanks, I would say, primarily due to Sanjeev. And this shoe, even to this day, is such a beautiful, beautiful piece of footwear. It was the first time I had ever tried to buy like a little bit of a higher heeled boot. First time I ever had a harness. This is a really narrow toe, so I don't really wear it all that often anymore. But this shoe, for the time, was awesome and really aligned itself with me liking rock music, because this is kind of the style of boot that I would imagine like classic rock people would be wearing. Like people like in, oh, I don't know, Guns N' Roses. I feel like they'd be wearing something like this. Like glam rock, a lot of glam rock wore a lot of heeled boots. So that's one direction. The next direction would be traditional in the more Japanese Americana direction, which encompasses also vintage clothing for me. And another shoe that was really popular at the time is going to be the visvim FBT. These were awesome. A lot of famous people wearing them. A lot of people were going wild in kind of like the 2014 to 2017-ish era, and I was lucky to get myself a pair for cheap. At this time, I was still in college, didn't have a whole lot of money, so I was just browsing the secondhand sites, trying my best to find the best deal I could, because I only worked like part-time at a sneaker store at that time. And so visvim FBT, really, really cool, represents both Americana, which I started to really get into denim, really started to love Japanese Americana as well, and that's when kind of like I just went into the rabbit hole of learning more about old clothing. And this is also when I started wearing like old Levi's and stuff. So yeah, visvim FBT, this is kind of like a moccasin sneaker hybrid, really cool. Leather feels absolutely amazing even after all these years. The third branch of my style came from like obscure, more avant-garde inspired things. And this is gonna be, I think, my first foray into buying anything that has the label of avant-garde on it. So this, I can't even pronounce the brand, but I bought this off of Grailed, and I really fell in love with it because of the different textures that this piece of footwear offered. I'll put the brand's name up on the screen right now. I don't know how to say it, to be quite honest with you, but this is kind of like a brogue detailed laceless or loafer, and this was awesome. I actually really got a lot of use out of this one, and this was also my introduction to shoes that could be kind of like taken to a cobbler and put like a sole on the bottom. So these shoes were really cool, really awesome. Still wear them to this day from time to time is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, this was kind of like an early adventure into more obscure avant-garde brands. What I really love about this is that you could see that like smooth leather on the toe and then go seamlessly into a more short-haired suede. Feels really good, looks really good. Yeah, I forgot I had these, to be quite honest with you, and I'm really, really excited that I found them again. So that 3-tier like experimenting stage lasted a really long while, and I would argue even to this day, I'm still kind of in that experimenting-ish era, but as I'm approaching or in my late 20s, which really sucks to say, but I have narrowed my view just a little bit. And so the primary styles that I like to draw inspiration from are more mature avant-garde styles, as well as still stick to the traditional Japanese Americana type of thing. So I have 3 shoes to show you that are kind of encompass where my head is at right now. They're all boots. I don't know how it ended up all boots, but these are the 3 that I think encompass what's in my head. Not necessarily what I wear all the time. You guys can see what I wear all the time on my Instagram. I try to be as versatile as possible, but in regard to what I like most right now is going to be a boot that you've seen in the past on the channel before, and then 2 boots that I don't think I've shown on the channel yet. So the one you guys have seen in the past before is going to be this right here. This is going to kind of encompass that avant-garde fascination that I have. This is like my prized possession. This is one of the best boots that I have, and I love this so much. I don't wear it often because it's just so pretty to look at. This is a CCP tornado boot in scarred horse leather. You can see just the texture that it gives down to the toe. It's absolutely beautiful with that spiral zipper right over here. This is, oh, I'm just so glad that I'm able to own one of them. This was probably, I probably shouldn't have made the purchase, but this is still to this day one of my biggest purchases ever, and I'm glad I did it once because I really don't know if I'll be able to ever do it again, but it's so beautiful and fits me absolutely perfectly, represents the epitome of what I think avant-garde represents to me, and I love it. It's just so beautiful. Yeah. There's only so many words I could say about one shoe though, so let's move on to the kind of traditional Americana, Japanese Americana stuff. This one right here is going to be the Visvim duck boot. Another one of like my most prized possessions. This thing is beautiful, and it's also rather rare if I'm not mistaken. I have not seen many others. I was able to get these from Owen Hyatt for a genuinely remarkable price. So I'm so excited to have these. I'm only wearing them a handful of times because brown boots are a little hard for me to wear personally, but again, so beautiful, inspired by duck boots, which are American staples. Really interesting bottom tread pattern over here. And man, these things are just awesome. These things are just so cool. Last up is going to be, I guess, the most traditional American shoe, and this is going to be a Wesco engineer boot. Judging from my last video about engineer boots, yes, I have been buying a lot of them and experimenting with a lot of different ones, but this came about simply because I saw a lot of people, some of my friends and people that I talk to love Chrome Hearts, and I was like, oh cool, I once saw the Chrome Hearts Wesco boot, I think from Paul in Seattle, who owned Drip Tea Market. So he had this pair, was selling it, and I'm like, wait, hold up, like, I'm not really a Chrome boy. I do like Chrome Hearts, but I don't really like paying the premium. So I'm like, you know what? I love engineer boots, quite obviously from that video that I did not too long ago. Why don't I try to get the original without the Chrome Hearts hardware? And so I was able to come across these. Really glad I did. My other engineer boots are wonderful. I still love the ones that have stars on them. That's one of my favorite boots of all time. This one is going to be the most utility-based one because they're so rugged. They're really high on the shaft, which is awesome. They have a Vibram lug sole on bottom, which makes them really great for anything. They are heavy, so they're not the most like athletically centered shoe in the world, but this shoe is so nice, and I was able to get them for like 200 bucks off eBay. So yeah, engineer boot, black leather, Wesco. It's debossed on the front of the shaft right there. Pretty much that's where my head is at in regard to fashion in this time. I tried to show you guys things that I really haven't shown on the channel before. Just trying to show different pieces love in my wardrobe. And that about wraps up all I really have to say about the different footwear that has led up to my mentality and what my style is right now. I love each and every piece of my collection so much. Really glad to share it with you guys as well. I appreciate you guys sitting here and listening to me ramble about clothes that came from my teenage years. So yeah, genuinely you guys, thank you so much. I would love to hear your guys' experiences as well, so sound off in the comments down below. DM it to me on Instagram if you feel so inclined. Of course, there is a lot of things that I left out of this video as well, like I still have all my Guidi boots and stuff, and I still have a lot of other things. I can't possibly show my entire collection in one video. That would take forever. But thank you guys for your time. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.